Hi, good evening, everyone. Um, I would like to talk about the topic future. What you see happening is the next crisis is around the corner, and it must be much heavier than the recent health crisis we had. So, what I would like to share with you, of course, it is all our responsibility to reverse the climate as we started it. And solutions are, in fact, rather easy to fulfill. If we diminish our energy production per head of the family for 5%, and let's say all the inhabitants of Europe would do this, just imagine how enormous effect that would have. 5% in saving electricity, 5% saving fossil fuel, 5% in eating meat, 5% in doing shopping, 5% in all the things we buy. So that is an enormous quantity, will be make a huge difference. And another thing what I would like to mention to you is if you're really involved in our climate situation, start listening to the speeches of Zach Bush. Zach Bush, MD. He sees and he follows the whole spectrum of what can be done by each individual. CO2, he says, we are looking up in the sky to reduce it, but that's not the solution. The solution is the soil. If we allow the soil to go back to the natural status, instead of exhausting it by mass production and all kind of chemicals we use, then it will eat the CO2 by itself. So if we transform, let's say, I cannot know the exact percentage, but let's say 30% of our agricultural grounds back to a natural shape, that the weeds can grow, the worms can come, the bees will come, the insects will come, that will make a huge difference in our climate situation. So we have the the uh, the kind of behavior that we wait for our government to make decisions or laws we are supposed to follow. Excuse me. We can do it today. If we start our production 5% less, and you will know, let's say for Holland it is 17 or 18 million people, times 5% is a huge number. In Germany we have much more inhabitants, but talking about whole Europe, I mean, that would be grand. So it will be a solution in my view that we start tomorrow, saving 5% of all we use. And it can be done very, very easily. I give you an example. Um, Doing our laundry on 5% lower temperature. 5% of our clothing will be recycled. 5% of our waste will make a great difference. Not using any plastics, not to use any the same amount of water, warm water above all, 5% less. We wouldn't even notice it. But we need to bring it into our attitude. So meditating on it It will be great to see if you have the willingness to do so, to create a future which is very useful for us, but also for the children from our generation. We need to offer them a good place on this earth. And I cannot think of the situation that they start pointing with a finger to me and said, you wasted our future. We don't have any future because you behaved in a way which was not acceptable for our climate. So let's breathe and make the in and exhale equally long. So let's do 7 counts in and 7 counts out. And then feel your nostrils. And by feeling the nostrils, you feel this deep silence within yourself. No thinking, just a feeling of your heart. Now allow whatever is there to be. If I ask you what comes to you, 5% less in our consumption on all directions, what comes to you? And it really doesn't matter. Maybe you want to bargain, not 5% but 4% of 3%. Whatever comes to you. Say, oh, I cannot do it. I'm so happy to come out of this health situation we were in. Finally, I can go on a holiday. Finally, I can start shopping. Finally, and so on. Just breathe. And what do you feel? 5% less. And if you feel any reluctance or any resistance or any disbelief or a non-willingness, attitude not to bother, just breathe with it and see what comes to you. In the breathing, observe what happens. So whatever comes to you, accept it that it is you or a part of you, and just start breathing with it. From your stillness, not from thinking. And you most likely will start to see it start moving. It starts shifting and you might not even understand where it will shift to. But something happens in your awareness about climate. And get this feeling, just imagine before the end of the year, 2021, you achieved to reduce your consumption 5%. What kind of feeling will you have on Sylvester evening, New Year's Eve? What will you feel? Just breathe with that. So to give you a resume, breathe with the 5% reduction of consumption in all various sites, all various products we consume. 5% bringing to your awareness and feel it shifting. And then the feeling on New Year's Eve, if you achieve that 5% for you personally and maybe your family, but always start first yourself. And you might see that your family will follow. Stay healthy. Enjoy your life, even with the 5% less, and stay sexy. See you next time, next week's Thursday.